You're about to make your very first kill brick, a part that kills a player on contact. It's a really fun tutorial, but always pause and rewind if you need to so that you don't miss a single step. In our demo map, the next thing we have is a shelf with 2 kill bricks. So to make the shelf, I'm going to duplicate this wall and then set the height to the max height of our elevator inside its script. So I'm going to click on the elevator platform. I'm going to open up its script. So the max height is 27. Remember, we were checking the height, and if the height got over 27, we're going to move its direction back down. So let's take this wall. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to drag it this way a little bit. And we want it to be a platform, so I'm going to change the size, the height of the size, its Y value, down to 1, like all our other platforms are, and drag it off. And now we're going to want to move its position Y, up to 27. So it's at the height we just checked in our if statement. And take the scale and drag its blue handle back so it lines up perfectly with the wall. And what I ended up doing on mine, you don't have to do this in yours, was I took this green handle and dragged it down to the ground. So it sort of made like another wall rather than a floating platform. And that's what I liked better, but that's totally up to you. Okay, I'm gonna exit out of our script just so it's not in our way as we go through this. So now we're gonna make our kill part. So add a part by going up here to part. Okay, we got our brick, and I'm gonna zoom in on it by hitting F. And so I'm gonna make it the width of our shelf, dragging this over to the wall. And then I want to make it narrow so that it's a little more easy for our players to jump over. And maybe we make it a little lower too. That's good. So if you want your size to be exactly like mine, it's 1 on the X, 0.75 on the Y, and then 12.75 for the width on the Z axis. And that's just the width that my shelf happens to be. So you want yours to line up with your shelf, okay? And then I'm going to actually move this down to the ground by our spawn point so that it's easier for me to test out once we get into our code. So I'm going to set it down there. Once we've got our part positioned and size, go in and right click on it, go up to rename, and let's name it kill part. I'm going to do all lowercase and one word, kill part, so that it's easy for us to find as we're working with it. And we also want to add a script to it. So mouse over it and go over here to this gray plus sign and click on script. And delete the print hello world that's in there. And the very first thing we're gonna do is get our parent, which is the part, so script.parent. And this part's brand new. We're gonna write .touched, which is gonna create what's called a touched event listener. This allows us to make something happen anytime our part is touched. This can be a character that lands on it or another object in the environment hitting it. But now we tell it what to do. And in this case, we're going to connect a function. And now we make it run by writing :connect, and in these parentheses, we'll write the name of the function. But first, we have to create a function. Remember from our last video on functions that they let us run a set of code from just a single line. So we can create a function. I'm just gonna call this onTouched by writing function onTouched. For now, let's just write print hit inside of our function. And inside connect, we write the name of the function we want to run, so onTouched. This can be whatever name you choose, just make sure it's the same name in both places. So let's run the game and test it. And when we touch the part, it should print hit. And see, as I'm standing on it, it prints hit. I'm also noticing our part's not anchored, so let's go back into our game, click on our part and click anchor so it stays locked in place. And so what we've told us so far is that for the part that is our parent, our kill part, every time it's touched, we want it to run this onTouched function, which happens to just print hit inside of it. So let's make our function do something cooler. When we run a function with this touch event here, it automatically creates a new variable for us that contains information about what hit it. This may sound a little confusing, but just write hit here in our function, like we did when we passed a variable, and now take away these quotation marks, so it's going to print out the variable hit. And now when we touch it, it shows us the body parts that are actually hitting it. And then we print the parent of our hit variable. It's going to print out my character's name. That's because my character is the parent of the foot or the arm or whatever that's touching it. To demonstrate that, I'm going to delete the part that says parent. And we can hit play, go into workspace, and I'm gonna find this thing for my character, click on it. Yours should have your username. And we see all these different parts, this left foot, left hand, blah, blah, blah. So when we walk over onto the part, we see left upper leg, left lower leg, left foot, all touching it. See, left foot, left upper leg, right? And all of these are children of this Zach Goldwasser item in our workspace. So we know all these body parts are the children of our character. When we print hit.parent instead of hit, it's just gonna print the name of the character that's hitting the part. Also inside the character, you'll see this thing called humanoid. Every character should have this, and it helps to store their health. So to see if the object that touches our part is a character and not like a tree or another random part, we're gonna check to see if it has a humanoid, because every character should have one. So if we take our hit.parent, which gets the parent of the body part that touched the object, and we write find first child. So let's take it out of our print statement, Control X, paste it down here, and write find first child. It's gonna check to see if the object has a child with the name that we put in here. So let's just put humanoid with a capital H, because that's how it's spelled when it's created in the game. And we can actually save this humanoid value in a variable, which is what we wanna do. So we're gonna go back to the beginning of the line, write local, and we'll just name it humanoid equals hit.parent.findFirstChild humanoid. So we're looking at our hit, we're getting its parent, which should be a character, and we're checking to see the character's humanoid. So now, if we have a humanoid, we want to set the humanoid's health to 0, because that's what a kill brick does, it kills the character. But if there's no humanoid, we don't want it to do anything. So we can actually write an if statement, like one of our switches. So if humanoid, then end. So let's say if the ground or one of the walls hits the part, it's not going to do anything because they don't have a humanoid. So here we've said, if the part gets hit, run this onTouched function. Inside the onTouched function, we have this variable hit, which gets created from the touch function. The very first thing we do in our onTouched function is check if our hit variable's parent has a first child named humanoid, save it in humanoid. If there is no humanoid, this is gonna return as no value. So this humanoid variable won't be true when we check it in this if statement. But if it has a humanoid, it's set the humanoid health to 0. And it's super simple. We just type in humanoid.health equals 0. And so the same way we updated our part's position, its color, and stuff like that, by saying position equals vector3.new and then gave it some numbers, we're just setting our health to equal 0. And now play your game and it should work. And there we go. Okay, so we want to make it so players know not to touch this. This isn't just any ordinary block. So go back into our game, click on the part, and we're going to want to make it, well, I'm going to make mine red and neon. You can make yours whatever color and material you want. But I feel like this, making it red makes it look like you do not want to touch this. Okay, so I'm going to put it back up on this shelf like we had it at the beginning. I'm just going to click and drag to get it up there fast. There we go. Now I'm just going to zoom in on it and click on this arrow and move it down so it's touching right on the shelf. And I'm going to move it a little bit to the right so it's not right where we get off the elevator. And I'm going to hit Control D and create a second one. And there we go. You just learned how to make a kill brick, but you also learned about the touch event listener, which can be used to make a part do anything once it's touched. In the next lesson, you're going to learn how to make a leaderboard to keep track of a player's scores. So keep going with the series and keep learning.